Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back everybody to a bit more of our solo Time Mage challenge. And this time we are... This time we are going to be real quick checking whether there is any better, well, strength thresholds for a flail weapon which is the same as an axe. So the weapon type is basically an axe. Our strength modifier or strength is unchanged, so our next best upgrade for damage would be level 18. So I don't think there is any really reasonable way of achieving that particularly quickly. So I would suggest we just go for the Siren encounter more or less right away. Right after I take care of my little friends here. As usual. Those guys, by the way, have a 1 in 16 chance as well to drop elixirs, so maybe I would like to finish this battle, but considering I already missed once with the flail, let's just run away instead. I should have hit Gallop. Or tried to anyways. Alrighty. Saving again. I could go and grab the antidotes and phoenix stones. Maybe I should do that first. Before I save, that is. So the thing is, the ship graveyard is not a particularly terrible place to grind, but at the same time, not a particularly interesting place either, especially since if I want to have any noticeable difference in terms of how much damage I deal, I would have to level up quite a bit. So any level right now would only benefit me in terms of maybe a little bit of resistance, like 1% resistance to status effects such as slow, and maybe a little bit of maximum HP, but that's about it. However, I do want those antidotes, one to use in combat and one to use after combat at least. Probably. Because Siren, the upcoming boss, has two different forms. She has a human form where she casts 3 spells, and then she switches over to the undead form, where she does 3 attacks and then switches back to the human form. The human form can do spells like fire, ice, and lightning. All of those are level 1 spells, but because we are still kinda low level, with relatively low maximum HP, those will still hurt quite a bit. She, however, most importantly, or the worst case scenario, in turn 1 I believe she has a chance to use slow on us. Slow is a status effect in this game that never wears off, and has probably the most extreme impact of any buff in this entire game, alongside haste. So those are about equivalent in terms of how extremely impactful those are. Despite being one of your favorites, you still don't quite understand this game's mechanics completely. Do axes not have massive damage range like in other Final Fantasies? They do, yes. The damage ranges from 50% of its regular attack to up to 150%. That is absolutely accurate. So right now with an axe, my damage range is, according to my spreadsheet, against an enemy with 0 defense, between 28 as the really low roll and 84 as the really high roll. Okay. As a frame of reference, Siren has 850 HP, so this will take a while. However, we have a nice and reliable way to deal damage once she is undead, because we can just throw potions at her. Let's see how this is going to go. If we get a slowed in turn 1, I might consider just resetting, because slow is such an extreme status effect. She would be able to go through all 3 of her turns before I get 1. One of the bigger downsides is, of course, that if I would want to reset just for a slow in the beginning, this is definitely one of the longest cutscenes just before a boss fight, so this would always take quite a bit. Siren is not deadly as Car Boss is, like the fight is not instantly over, but she could strip us of the remainder of the elixirs that we have, and I would like to have at least 2 remaining for other stuff. So, attack number 1 missed. So if she uses haste in the first turn, she actually goes so fast that she will go here into her 3rd turn already and then immediately switch. So she didn't slow us, so that's a plus. However, I'm going to wait until she turns undead, and then I wanted to give her a potion in order to deal 50 damage to her. She has 850 HP, so that would have been a nice number. I will heal myself with elixirs to use as few turns as possible. What I could do instead is I could defend in order to halve the damage received. She did not actually use her special ability here, which was really nice of her, which is a Bear Hug, which is an attack that deals 150% damage and also poisons us. So that's really nice of her. 218 damage so far. Mute would actually affect us if we had any magic spells, which we do not. Mute is one of the better things that can happen to us, because basically it doesn't matter. Oh, Cure, really? We are now at about 260 damage, I would guess. Kind of like before, after her 3rd turn, I'm just waiting. By the way, her buffs actually do not transfer from one form to the other, so she will lose the boss every time. So her using armor on the last turn really doesn't make much of a difference. We're at about 380 or so. I will use an elixir next turn. Oh no, a Silence Mage. How could he ever win? No. I feel like potion throwing is kind of her best damage here anyways. Unless the flail gives us good ranges and doesn't miss. That's really good actually. I haven't kept track of the amount of damage we dealt so far anymore. But we're probably more than halfway through, I would guess anyways. Sleep is really not good, because in sleep in this game here, you never wake up until you take a physical attack. To be fair, she only attacks physically, but it essentially means we lose our entire turn until she attacks us again as well. We will survive one more turn and then I use an elixir afterwards. By the way, fun fact, she has a tremendous amount of physical defense in her undead form, but at the same time, because we use a flail, that defense is quartered and doesn't matter nearly as much. Haste, still better than slow, I'm okay with this. And bolt. I meant to use an antidote sometime, but I feel like it's just not really worth it at the same time. We still have 8 elixirs left, so... This is where I wish I kept more closely track of how much HP she has left. There will be probably one more tick. I'm going to wait until she attacks and then use an elixir. Because I expect yeah, there's the poison tick. Thankfully we have so many elixirs, it's awesome. You get a different reward for defeating her based on whether you defeat her in human or in undead form. One is a bronze armor, which we cannot use, and one is a bronze shield, which we cannot use either. So, not relevant to us, but interesting nonetheless. It's going to switch into undead form. Survive one more attack. It would survive one more attack, but not poisoned, unfortunately. In case you're wondering, what happens if you use an elixir on an undead enemy? The undead enemy would get put into critical HP unless... unless they are heavy. And heavy is a status effect that most bosses possess, and is going to be very relevant in the upcoming areas as well. Oh no, a Silence Mage. So we did use a good chunk of elixirs. Thankfully we did have a sufficient amount, so it was not really particularly impactful. And we really dodged the really bad stuff. We had a 1 in 3 chance to slow us every single time she was human. And never did it. Hooray! So, just one more medium-sized obstacle until we are finally getting our first set of time magics. And interestingly enough, we don't just get our first set of time magics, we actually also get a good amount of other useful equipment and tools to work with. Here's an antidote. So here's a thing. What I could do in order to get past that medium-sized obstacle is I could use this ice rod. If you use the ice rod in combat, it shatters and it deals damage. Basically, it's a level 3 ice spell that appears. That's ridiculously overpowered. It would deal like 900 damage in one swing. But as tradition demands, unless I have to use an ice rod or breaking rocks on bosses, I will not do it. Like, there's going to be bosses where it's just not reasonable to hope for that amount of RNG, or there might just be bosses where I would have to level up like 20 more times in order to be able to defeat them. So, just kind of to check, the magic shop here has black and white magic spell, but no dimensional spells. And to check the armor and weapon shops, there's rods and staves, but nothing really useful. How many deaths before a rod break? Against Magisa? I would say it's not really a matter about how many deaths in that specific instance. Also, we get one more defense, which is nice. And also a bit of magic defense, that's also nice. It's not necessarily a matter of how many deaths. It's more of a matter of if I just realize it's just not reasonable to defeat them without breaking the rod, I will do it. Like, if the probability is too low. If I just get really unlucky and have like 50 deaths in a row, then so be it. Not the greatest, but sometimes there's not much you can do about it. Alrighty, but at least one of every status curative item. most of those status curatives items are never really going to be relevant. Like, if I get blinded, that is actually somewhat interestingly relevant to a mage right now, but eventually it will be completely pointless. But if I get petrified, for example, we can never use a soft on ourselves. What we can do, however, is use a soft on the enemies in order to instantly kill golem or stone type enemies. You like axes in concept, they never felt like good weapons. Yeah, unfortunately, axes don't really have enough benefits to make up for the flaws they have. Like, the only real benefit an axe has is that it ignores 3/4 of the enemy's defense, which, don't get me wrong, that can be good. But because they do not provide any more damage, for them missing like 10 to 30% of the time, I feel like they are just completely outclassed by more consistent weaponry. Axes don't actually deal any more damage than other weapons. If they had, let's say, more base damage, if we had a +4 rather than a +2 for the modifier, like all other weapons, then it would be a consideration. Yes, actually. Thor's hammer, back row okay. Gaia's hammer, by the way, is also back row okay, even if it doesn't say so in the description. Gaia's hammer also for the earthquake procs. Even if you don't have much strength, that can still be quite solid. Or intelligence, excuse me. Gaia's hammer for the back row as a berserker is really nice, that is true. And don't get me wrong, the rune axe is actually a really strong weapon if you can put it on a character with high intelligence. Like, that thing is really good, actually. Alrighty, here we have Magiza and Forza. Magiza has 650 HP. Once she drops below 300 HP, she will summon her husband Forza, who is going to only ever attack or tackle us. Tackle is an attack that deals 150 damage, 150% damage. So that's really all there is to it. Magiza will also give region status to Forza and buff him a little bit, but preferably we will be able to dispose of her before she can really do much of anything in that regard. The Death Sickle is definitely one of the best weapons in the First Worlds, but that is mainly because it actually has a tremendous amount of attack power by itself. Alright, 44. Let's try to keep track of that. That's not a good start. Taco? I like tacos. That is 88. Oh, 92 actually. $148-ish. 196. By the way, a problem right here is that Magiza could kill us with a drain attack, or drain spell. I don't know which turn it is she can do it though. But she deals like 150 damage. Maybe I should just go for the kill and ignore that possibility entirely. It's only 1 in 3 chance in one of her turns. There it is. And it's 172 damage. Yeah. Updating the death counter. Before I go much further. It was 18 deaths on Carbos. Let me actually update the document real quick with that. Number 7, Time Mage. 0 random deaths so far. Deaths on Carbos, 0 on Siren, 1 on Magiza and Forza. So yeah, this is just kind of dice roll in a sense. Let's see real quick. Magiza, she has Only 2 turns actually, which means every other turn she has a 1 in 3 chance to use Drain. She also starts with 200 MP. If we would want to, we could just run her out of MP before we do anything else. We do have plenty of potions. That might actually be the most pragmatic approach to this. Good evening to you, Philly Bobcat. Welcome. How are you doing? In this game, you obviously buy your spells. Other Final Fantasy games, characters naturally learn spells on level ups. Do you have preference either way? Not really. What I actually like is when characters, let's say, practice a certain type of magic, and then they get stronger in that certain type of magic. I kinda like that. But that's about it. So I'm actually going to start healing with potions until we get above the threshold for drain, reliably-ish. Because we heal a little bit on regular spells, but we don't heal at all on drain. Oh, or arrow for that matter. I actually have no idea how Final Fantasy II did it. I've never played that game. I just know it somewhat sort of does it that way. I don't know how well or not well it does that stuff. I hear that most people don't think it's a particularly good implementation. Hey, Drain actually missed. Magisa is level 2, so she has like... Actually, we have about 1 in 3 chance to resist Drain, so that's nice. Oh wow, another one. I'm just gonna run her out of MP at this point, I think. I feel like that is our best option. Once she's out of MP, she's not nearly as dangerous anymore. You could abuse the heck out of Final Fantasy II's system of leveling. Which, by the way, I feel like is really interesting way to go about things. Just abuse the system if it's interesting enough. Which I'm kinda doing in Final Fantasy V, really. I may want to use elixir because I think Magisa is slightly faster. Oh, nice, Drain missed. She actually would have killed us here, I think. Almost killed us here if Drain hit. But yeah, Magical Fury. I do like that concept a lot. The implementation might want to be a bit different than what it ends up being in Final Fantasy II, for that matter. But I like the concept. I don't think that's as much of a glitch as it is a clever use of the system transporter, to my knowledge anyways. I love it when she uses Drain that misses, because Drain is one of her more expensive spells to use. I'm okay with this. Nice. I guess the chance for Drain to hit might be lower than anticipated. We might have been able to ignore it, but at this point we should be so far into draining her MP that it would be silly to not just go all the way. I will probably still want to kill her before I take care of Forza, because she does have a 1 in 3 chance to attack physically in her second turn. Although I guess she will be in the back row, so that damage here will be halved on top of that. Magical Fury. I think that is actually Dragon Warrior 3, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's Dragon Warrior 3. She has 200 MP, by the way. Each one of those first level spells only costs 3 MP. Drain does cost a fair bit more. I'm surviving a drain here, and I'm getting a turn before she gets another one. Ah, not enough MP, there we go. Actually kinda curious, I pretty much had to heal endlessly, more or less, in order to even keep up my HP. But this should be a viable strategy for everything that isn't the Berserker, I would say. Oh, we already pushed her below the threshold, by the way. We didn't? Did she heal at some point? Unless I'm reading my numbers wrong, she should have called Forza way before this. Might be reading the numbers wrong. Let's just kill her off because her physical attack can still hurt a bit. She should only have 74 HP left, I think. Region, not enough MP. Nope, I was wrong. According to my calculator, he has minus 14 HP. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. So yeah, something went wrong somewhere. Use an elixir to heal up to full. Alright, the question is now whether I should try to heal with potions, because this tackle does more damage than I can heal, and here's I think a 1 in 3 chance to use tackle, or whether I should use elixirs instead. Well, I guess we would heal up very, very slowly. Just need to figure out how much damage his tackle can do. And also, I think he's a bit faster than me. I'm gonna wait until he takes his next turn, then use an elixir. 72. Let's see. Yeah, he's slightly faster than me, so he would eventually get 2 rounds on me. So I feel like I should just invest the remainder of the elixirs that we have accumulated at this point in order to try and take care of this guy. So yeah, Forza is really simple, he just attacks. We are in the back row, we only take half the damage, but oh boy, we don't have much defense. And his tackles just deal so much damage. We survive one more tackle. I'm gonna do the same thing, just wait for his next attack. Use an elixir and then we go on. Oh! Right, I forgot about that. She is trained to heal. Of course. Derp. I actually literally forgot about her having trained to heal. believe this guy has 850 HP, if I'm not mistaken. Wonder whether attacking with Rod would be interesting, because Rods actually use magic power and magic defense in order to determine how much damage you deal. The main problem about a Rod, by the way, is that it can deal anywhere from 0 to its attack power and damage. So it's not a particularly good weapon if you want to be consistent, because it can't just be 0. To be fair, a flail has 30% chance to miss. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna wait here until he takes another turn real quick. Because he will get another turn really fast or really soon. Can he crit? I mean, the tackle is kind of a critical hit, but no, beyond that, beyond the special moves, there's actually no critical hits at all for enemies. That might be wrong. There's critical hits for you as a player, but not enemies, I don't think. Ow. I should get a turn after his next turn still. Critical is whatever the monster makes it to be. Like, critical in this game means many things. It's just kind of the special attack they do, for that matter. And we got him. Nice. Didn't have to break the rod. We get a whip and a giant string as our reward. And we have... no elixirs left. Ha! That worked out perfectly. If we didn't get this lucky with elixirs, we would have a lot more trouble against this thing. Nice, and now we finally will get the first taste of actual time magic. Well, after a few cutscenes, that is. Now I'm actually curious, what is the speed of those Garkimazra enemies in Wall's basement? Let's see real quick. I know they have 666 HP, I don't remember the name though. So let's see whether we can figure out something with that. Dark Potion, Garkimazra, there we go. They have a speed of 35, so they are faster than we are. And since they get a back attack, they will always be a little bit faster than we are, so they get 2 turns before I get 1. So I would need to survive 2 hits from a Garkimazra in order to get there. Basically, I was just figuring out whether it would be a viable option to try and get the Elven Mantle right now or later. Because in theory, as long as we survive their attacks initially until we get a turn, we would be able to heal forever, because I'm making a little detour here. One of the special things about a Time Mage is that it can use staves. The only other 2 classes who can use staves are Red Mage and White Mage to my knowledge. Actually, an Oracle. So for me to be able to use staves, which is really nice, I can get a very, very special type of weapon here, quote-unquote weapon. The Healing Rod, or the Healing Staff, I guess. Jackanapes is the name for the game, them in the Game Advance version, Mr. Crimson. So I need the RPGE translation, as in the Super Nintendo fan translation names for the algorithms guide. But yeah, they are called Garkimazras. Being a Time Mage, then being faster should not matter. The problem about those Garki Masters is they have a 100% guaranteed chance to back attack you, unless you have a thief in your party. Oh, Chemist, that's true. Chemist can use it too. And hey, Mr. Stinger, welcome. How goes the Sorcerer of Time and Space playthrough? Well, up until now, it was just a really, really weak physical attacker. And only just now we have finally gained access to actual dimensional magic. And this is kind of where we unleash the full power of the Time Mage. Well, not the full power, I guess, but a pretty significant portion. There's also a few other things in this castle to get, like elixirs and high potions that will basically just heal us to full if we use them, so that's nice too. Although we don't really need them for a while, interestingly enough. So just kind of running around collecting some of the treasures. There's actually two more things that you can pick up, which are two cabins in the east side of the tower where you have to walk through a wall. It's actually kind of a weird one because it's not even visible that there's a walk-through wall with having a thief in a party. So I never knew about it until recently. Two elixirs and a high potion, which effectively do the same thing right now for us. And some ethers. There's nothing else up there. And yes, we are doing Pointy Hat, or the Dunce Cap. Alrighty. So, through here now is where we acquire the healing rod. Interestingly enough, the chests contain stuff too, like a katana and shuriken. Katana is a samurai weapon. You don't get samurai until the earth crystal normally. Shuriken, you don't get a ninja until the fire crystal is complete. And the Gearman spell is for the Gearmancer, but even then you shouldn't use it, because spells are just not really particularly good, unfortunately. And yeah, so we have our healing rod, which is nice, by the way, plus 2 magic power, but aside from that it doesn't really do anything, unfortunately. real quick check whether there's any equipment that we can get. I think there's a silk rope, but we can an armor, but I think we can get a better armor in the next dungeon already. Yeah, we can't use the training suit. We already have the cotton armor. Helped out a little bit to survive a bit better against Magis and Forza. Weapon shop, probably nothing. Well, dagger is still the same weapon that we already have. But here's the big deal. To the right of this, there's a spell shop. The spell shop sells time and also some summon magic, which is kind of unusual because normally summons you earn by defeating the boss. But we get slow, regen, void, and haste. So slow and haste are kind of self-explanatory. Essentially, your turn comes up twice as quick compared to before. With haste, with slow, your turn is half as quick compared to before. Although there is a lower limit on how slow it can be. And what else? And yes, we use a code to unlock the class from the start. That is accurate. Otherwise you would be just kind of freelancer, which would eventually be kind of boring, since there's a lot of classes you couldn't do anything with until you get fairly far into the game. So, there's a little bit more that we can pick up in this dungeon here, or well, in this castle. Not a whole lot more. And I will give the Darkimazras one shot, assuming that they will not instantly kill us. If they do too much damage, there's not much I can do about that. I can get 2 more defense in the upcoming tower, which would be nice, but who knows. Is there a save point here? No, that's the other castle where the save point is in the basement. So I want to go and save before I go in and try. So, by the way, we have 2 more magic spells aside from slow and haste. One is kind of obvious, regen, just gives you regeneration ticks. But void is a really strange one. And I don't think I've seen it in any other Final Fantasy, in a sense. Well, actually, in a sense we have seen it. But what void essentially does is it... Anyway, we want to be in the front row, because we always get back attacked here, always. So we are going to be in the back row taking less damage. So what void essentially does is it mutes the battlefield, meaning there's no possible... Oh, that's probably too much damage. It mutes the battlefield. By the way, I don't want to have my other dudes helping me out here, so... I don't want to do that. Void mutes the battlefield, which kind of is like, you know, Minotaur's tower? Or when you go on the right side in the Twin Tower? Pretty much like that. Where... you cannot cast any spells anymore. And this goes both for you and the enemy. Kind of strange. Yeah, thank you. So, now we are actually in here, so we might be able to do this, actually. In theory. So, those Garkivazra enemies are incredibly difficult to run away from. And so, because they always back attack you unless you have a thief in your party, this is essentially a terminal station for a lot of classes. But we might actually get lucky enough that we can eventually run away from them before they kill us, but since they are slightly faster than our poor little Time Mage, and we don't get our turn quick enough for that matter, we might just die here. I think he gets 2 turns next turn before I get 1. Unless we run away in between somewhere, I'm gonna be dead. And we have no way to avoid physical attacks right now. This is actually the exact reason why I'm even coming over here. There is, as a matter of fact, an option to survive physical attacks. And there it is. Alrighty. It's probably possible if we get lucky enough. I actually kind of used up all my running luck, I guess, while waiting for my other 2 characters to die. That was a bit unfortunate. Okay. So yeah, we just come back later when we have a bit more maximum health or so. We actually don't have to come back necessarily anyways. So, this is the tower. There's not really anything particularly interesting inside here, aside from maybe a silk rope, which is a bit more defense and also a pretty large amount of magic evasion, which is nice. Magic evasion gives us a chance to dodge magic attacks that have a chance to hit. Kind of like Drain. There's also a silver armlet, which has 2 defense for the accessory, or silver ring, 2 defense for the accessory slot, and a bit more magic defense, which is kind of nice. And once again, the deal with equipment weight is, unless you get a multiple of 8, equipment weight, it really doesn't matter. So we haven't gotten a single encounter until now. Kind of want to finish off my buddies here before we go on too much further. Let's see how much damage an ice rod does. It missed. Yeah, that's why I don't usually use rods to attack. Sleep on fairies. And slow on fairies. They really don't like you, do they? I should not have attacked out. That's exactly the wrong guy. Oh, I did not know they no drain. I had no idea they no drain. Do they ever physically attack us? Because if they don't, we are going to be permanently asleep here. I'm gonna run away. $120. Wow. Yeah, rods can do damage, and they deal damage based on your magic attack power. But it's just so unreliable because they also can deal 0. Okay. Upcoming, we have Galura. Galura can be a bit tricky on various classes that are not particularly strong offensively, but surprisingly, Time Mage is not necessarily one of those characters. So the way Galura works is, all he ever does is attack. So now, hold on. Attacking is not that bad, kind of like Forza. He actually even deals less damage inherently. But once he drops below 800 HP maximum total, Galura starts using counterattacks to any time you deal any form of damage, which is really bad for you. So now he is slowed, I'm hasted, I have regen, and now we start attacking. Now the thing is, poor Galura is potentially not even going to be able to punch through my regeneration effect. But the biggest problem normally is that he counterattacks twice. One is a physical attack or a rush. A rush does physical damage plus inflicts HP leak status, which HP leak is actually really bad for you. Because this early in the game, HP leak does so much damage, since it's pretty much more or less static damage, let's put it that way. And it takes down in real time rather than in-game time, so it's not like poison, it's essentially instantaneous. I wonder whether the rod is actually better than a flail. So as long as he doesn't counterattack us with rush, we are perfectly fine here. He also only reacts to damage taken rather than an attack, so if I attack and deal 0 damage, he will not take any damage really. So, the HP slip status is actually really bad in terms of if you set in your menu, you actually take more damage. You don't want to set in your menu at all. I'm gonna use the healing rod myself just to heal. The thing is, Galura can never actually threaten us as a timer, so we don't deal much damage. But neither does he, at least not compared to how much we are regenerating each time we attack instead. And in theory, I wouldn't even have to use the healing stuff, I could just defend and wait for the regeneration ticks to do their work. And that would be sufficient. I'm just gonna try and use the flail instead now, maybe that deals more damage. I'm actually curious whether the ice rod is more damage than the flail. And I maybe should have used the ice rod on Nagisa instead. That's entirely possible. I've never actually tried using a rod as a weapon, seriously, because of the high chance to miss. I mean, if we hit, it seems to deal pretty decent damage. Well, not always, I guess. That was 8. Maybe the flail is a little bit more reliable. I don't know. I would have to calculate out the average in order to figure out the reality of the situation in the end. But yeah, you can see the kind of ridiculous power over, well, literally time that Time Mage has with speed and slowing the boss. The boss doesn't get to do much. That is one attack he did in like, what, 6 or 7 turns I attacked him? The only reason why he does so much damage is because of the counterattacks. If he didn't have counterattacks, he basically wouldn't be noticeable at all, I would say. I got a little lucky with the damage rolls on my ice rod. It definitely feels that way. Oh, there we go, 112. 120 might actually be the exact maximum. One of the biggest dangers is accidentally healing the boss or attacking enemies with the healing staff. If they're undead, that is actually kinda decent. But if they're not, well, not so much. Then goodbye. And we get a high potion for our troubles. The ice rod might also enhance your damage when you attack with it physically. You mean the 50% ice damage up counts for it too? It does use magic power instead of strength. I think I do have it in my calculations thingy. But let's see. If you use the type of rod instead. Lowest damage is always potential of 0, which is kind of the problem. Now, according to this, it's actually 112, the maximum. Which is weird, because I did 120 on my own ally earlier. Wonder what the increments are for each attack power. Yeah, you might be right, Xcodes. That's interesting, so a rod, or an ice rod for that matter, might actually be a lot stronger than I anticipate. Wait a second, I forgot something. Oh, never mind. It coincidentally has the same attack power as a flail. So 56 damage on average with a rod versus... Wait, it does take enemy magic debuff. Okay, I see all of it. So if we use a flail instead, it's also 56 damage on average. It's just an even wider swing than... it's just an even wider swing than an axe, or well, the flail. Peeps! Oh wow, that's a lot of people. Peeps, thank you for the host, I appreciate that. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. We are currently playing Final Fantasy V solo character challenge with just a single Time Mage. And we have made it past the biggest walls in this game so far, that were Karlboss, Magisa and Forza, and also Siren. And now we finally have unlocked the potential of the Time Mage with, well, actual time magic. Haste, Slow, Void and Regen. And I did not actually know that, but it seems like Regen is also affected by Haste. Oh, bye. And hey peeps, welcome. Once again, thank you much for the host. And I hope you guys over there are doing well. If I may ask, how are you doing and what were you doing? And hey Arachnes, welcome. How are you doing? How did the Necromancer challenge turn out? We did get a fair bit unlucky towards the end, but at the same time, the Necromancer, once he learned the Dark Arts, he more or less breezed through most of the enemies without too much trouble. Especially once he got the ability to heal through Drain, but it was still kind of tricky. Beating SNES game, number 571, Arcana. Oh, I see. Are you going through the entire SNES library? Wait a second, do I know you under another name? No, I don't. Interesting. I'm gonna follow you. I'm curious how that turns out. So there's, I guess, 2 people at least who are doing this SNES challenge. You seem to be really far in. He was PBR gamer before. I may have heard of that name. Either way, that's pretty awesome. I actually don't know anything about Arcana. Been doing it for 4 years, holy cow. That's crazy dedication. Nice. I like it. I was actually at some point contemplating that too, basically inspired by the Mexican runner doing the NES thing. Like I imagine were so many others as well. And I ultimately decided I'm not that interested in most SNES games. So props to you for being able to stick to that, and I hope you enjoy your stay with the SNES library. We hit the 5,000 hour mark last week. That's a lot of hours. Ah, fire, 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 fire. I love it. They didn't have to implement animations when you interact with fire and stuff, but they just did. And I like it. I'm gonna get a fire rod. You have a nice rod. Now I have a fire rod too. But yeah, I have to admit, I don't know Arcana. What is Arcana about? I think I've heard the name, but I'm not sure that's the same game. Like, I remember... Was it Arcanum? That one game that was basically a very, very faithful adaptation of D&D in video game format, but ridiculously way too over-the-top complex or so. Yeah, I like interacting with the fire. By the way, the in-game timer stops briefly if you when you interact with the fire. It's kind of strange. Arcanum PC. I guess that's a different one. So far, all you know, there's a dungeon crawl where you have to get to have elemental pets. Huh. Sounds interesting. I have a question. In your quest, do you also play games that were only Japanese releases? Or only official English releases? I don't know whether you know any Japanese. Arcanum is a CRPG set in a steampunk/fantasy world. Dungeon crawl with huge emphasis on elemental alignments. As long as they have 100% fantasy. Wizardry 1, 2 and 3 just got picked today. Oh, I see, that's nice. There's a fan translation for Wizardry 6. Let me put it this way, it's functional, but if you have never played the DOS version, it's really weird. Although considering how many games you already finished, you might have already beaten that one. Your Japanese is terrible? Probably better than mine. By the way, we're still level 14. We haven't leveled up since the Wind Shrine. And I feel like we actually don't have to. Not really anyways. I probably should at least a little bit, because we will eventually come up to Byblos. And I guess also the upcoming boss. Yeah, we actually need at least 400 HP to have a reasonable shot at surviving certain attacks. So let's aim for like 450 to 500 HP. So I'm going to do a little grind here. You'll be like to play things numerically in a series to see how mechanics/gameplay evolves. Absolutely makes sense. There is a Wizardry 4 that was English released. I don't know about Wizardry 5 at all, actually. Wizardry 6 does have a Japanese release with a fan translation. Alrighty, so I'm going to do what I have done in the past already. I'm going to just grind through the use of... Am I ever going to use the flail again if I could just use the rods instead? I can also use mithril daggers. I think mithril daggers are better. Either way, I'm gonna use or buy some stuff. And for that I will need to sell various things. I'm not gonna use tents anytime soon, although I might regret selling those. Can never use a whip, can never use the mithril helmet. We can never use the katana, we can never use those, never use this. I don't need ethers until later, so I'm gonna sell them for now. So, what I want to have is a mithril dagger. Mithril daggers are actually pretty strong overall. Only like 1 or 2 attacks lower than a mithril sword, and daggers get additional bonuses from various agility modifiers. I feel like it's just strictly better. So, I'm also going to go ahead and buy any upgrading armor that I might get. Plumed hat is a better helmet, gives also a good amount of magic evasion. And that's kind of all we get for now. So for the rest of the money, well, I'm gonna... Wait, do we get any new dimensional magic here? I actually don't even know. Let's check real quick. When did I activate the sheet? Oopsie, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for the hint. I figured I would do that at some point by accidentally not switching back. Oh, that was since the... Yeah, that was since the... after Galura. Sorry. So we also get Stop now, which is a new spell. On Demi. Demi is interesting. Any enemy that is not heavy, you can halve their HP. Which, in random encounters, not the greatest, but is functional. And Stop, unfortunately, will probably see never any use. Because if you stop a boss that is vulnerable to it, unless he is not heavy, Stop will last not for long enough for it to be particularly relevant most of the time. I do have some ideas on how to use it, but we'll see. So, I'm gonna buy a bunch of rods and then just break them in order to grind quicker. As mentioned before, I will try to not use rods in order to get past bosses, but I'm not gonna hesitate to use them to grind quicker. There's my fire rods. There we go, all the way down there. So the way you break rods is you just double click them in your inventory, then you get the cursor. It always targets all enemies, you cannot target yourself with them unfortunately. Would be actually useful. Then you break them, it unleashes a fire level 3 spell. And we get money back. So they cost 750 gold. We gain 625 gold each time we defeat a pack of wolves. So we essentially invest 75 gold per rod. Wait. Is that right? Was it 225 or 275? Oh, okay, we invest 125 gold for each pack of wolves. They are actually really good experience overall. So we could just defeat one pack of wolves with just a dagger since they don't have particularly much HP. But this is an easy way to grind. And again, I want to reach just about 450 to 500 maximum HP to take on the next set of bosses with a little bit more safety. 400 would be enough, but I like to have a little bit of buffer there. Also, let me actually scroll up real quick in the chat because I'm really a slow reader. Hey Vanacut, welcome, I hope you're doing well. Wizardry 5 does its translation. I didn't even know it was a thing. Interesting. 4 everyone says is nightmare level. Interesting. Background guy 02 told me that he actually really enjoyed... Or wait... Is it Wizardry 5 that he liked? No. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. I remember now. Wizardry 4 is nightmare level. Yes, actually. Depending on which ending you want to reach. It's even more stupid. But it's stupid in the most wonderful way possible if you don't care about experiencing it yourself, but actually want to try and read up on it. So I have another question, peeps, if you don't mind, and if you're still around. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Do you play your games entirely blind? Do you accept input from chat, or how do you handle your general strategy? Because if people from here would like to maybe visit your stream, it would be nice if they actually knew the rules, right? Because I think we just hit another magic multiplier because suddenly we deal a lot more damage. What is my level? 16, 378 them. You know what? 400 HP is fine. I'm too lazy to grind much more. Okay, that's the last fire rod. I'm just gonna use the ISO and Thunder Rod as well to grind here for just a little while longer. So, kind of one of the biggest downsides of a Time Mage is that you don't really have a method of farming efficiently outside of rod breaking. Rod breaking is actually not too terrible though. Well, I guess you don't technically have to use a guide, but if there's permanently missable stuff, you will be searching for that stuff for a long time, most likely. And fire rods. So after I break this series of rods, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy one of each of the rods, replenish my potion count, and see how close I am to a level actually first. Because if I'm really close to a level, I want to real quick get the level, and then we move on. Level 18 would actually be an interesting threshold, because that will give me an additional attack modifier with my weapons. Yeah, we go at least for 18, I guess. Hey Buffalex, welcome, how are you doing? Or would it? Let me... No, wait, daggers are 5 already. For daggers it doesn't matter, because of the weirdness of agility coming into play as well. So 18 is okay. 2013 it looks like. Time flies indeed, I do agree. Oh, Trojan dude, thank you for the host, I appreciate that. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome everybody, I hope you're doing well. Fair skin the level. You know what? I think level 18 is okay. I'm gonna real quick use up my potions to heal up all the way. I don't think I need more MP. I don't have maximum MP compared to how much I could have, but at the same time I don't feel like it's necessary in the first place. One Ice Rod, one Thunder Rod. Going to stock up on potions, and then we are going to be ready to dive into the steamship already. In the steamship there is actually quite a number of items that we can pick up in terms of treasure, like... oh, how to put it... stuff that we can just straight up sell, stuff that is actually useful, like potions, elixirs, high potions, stuff like that. You're heading to bed? Thank you for the good luck and the host, I appreciate that. Thank you, and I hope you're doing well as well. Take care, Trojan dude. Yes, Vanacut, actually. I had to do that last month, actually, because I miscalculated. And it was actually just straight up written in my passport when I need to go for that thing. So I wasn't the smartest person about it. Thankfully, I noticed it early enough. But it was kind of spooky for a while. It's true. So in here, there's quite a few enemies, but as a Time Mage, I just feel like you don't have any way to deal with enemies quickly. I dare to say you don't really have any trouble dealing with them if you really want to kill them, but it's just so much more efficient to kill enemies in specific spots where it's just so, wow, you can just break a rod, you gain your money back and more, and a bunch of experience, which is kind of what I'm aiming for here. But before that, we have 3 more bosses, actually 3.5 more bosses in between. By the way, if you defeat those defeater enemies last, they will transform, or well, they will call 2 machine head enemies. And those machine head enemies actually deal quite solid physical damage. So it's a little bit unpleasant, but nothing too bad. Those Phoenix Downs I'm picking up, for the most part I will not really need them in any capacity, until we reach actually the Lonka Ruins, where there is a pretty decent grinding spot, if I wanted to go for that. But, as a class that can equip prods, there's not really much of a reason for me to go there, things considered. Because we can just use the Black Flames a lot more reliably, on average a lot quicker too. But on any other class that just doesn't have a particularly good grinding spot, that is not a Berserker, can go into the Lonka Ruins and just defeat enemies for a ton of experience there with Phoenix Downs, reasonably simply. I don't know whether they changed it in the Game Boy Advance version of the game, but the Hydra encounters that I'm talking about are significantly more common in the Super Nintendo version than the Game Boy Advance version. It feels like. It might have just been variants, it might be completely wrong, but that's just kind of how I felt like it was. I could have picked up 2 chests on the side. One is a green beret, pretty good headgear equipment, +1 strength, +1 agility, but we can't use it. And for the money I didn't feel like it was worth going out of my way for it. And the other one is this chest on the left. It's an accessory, the Thief's Glove. Doubles the chance of you stealing from 40% to 80%, which is really good actually for a thief. But outside of the thief, nobody can equip it, and so it's kind of pointless. Hey Hydra, welcome. Thank you for the good luck. Yes, Hydra encounters. There's 2 different types of Hydras in the Lonka Ruins. One are the green ones, and one are the undead ones. That are usually a lot scarier, unless you know you can just use a Phoenix Down on them. Another elixir over there, and we are pretty much at the end of this dungeon here already. So, upcoming is Liquid Flame. Liquid Flame has 3 different forms, each one doing, well, different things, as you might be able to imagine. So, there is the human form, which Liquid Flame starts in. When you hit the human form with any damage, it transforms into one of the other 2 forms at random, we don't know which ones. And it counterattacks with Flame, which deals 25% of your maximum health in damage. Unfortunately, Flame doesn't cost any MP, so this thing can't run out of MP. Then the second form is the hand form. Although they do have basic attacks, they can attack with Flame straight up if they want to. The second form is the hand form, and the hand form deals damage. I should have hasted first. I forgot I'm a Time Mage. Haste is so strong. You can unfortunately not slow this guy to my knowledge. I'll try briefly, but I don't think this works. The second form is the hand form. The hand form is actually immune against virtually all elements, which is a bit unusual because every other form, or the other 2 forms of Liquid Flame, are weak to ice, although they do resist or absorb most of the other elements as well. They are heavy, so Demi is not gonna work. Void does not work in most battles, so there's that. Stop, I don't think Stop works. And even if it did, Stop stops enemies for 30 time units, which is essentially actually pretty much exactly my agility. So all I would do is interrupt whatever they might do next, and then they get to do it next anyways, just before me. So not the greatest. Unless, actually, the one use of Stop would be me stopping a boss, if it was reliable enough anyways, in order to get regeneration ticks. I guess that would be an use. Either way, I want to hit this guy sometime. I'm gonna hit him with the Mithril Dagger from the back row, because his physical attacks are somewhat spooky, but I'm mostly afraid of this form here. This is the hand form, and the hand form counterattacks with fire too. This is the reason why I want to have more than 300 HP, because if this thing counterattacks with fire 3, we are at very low HP total afterwards. By the way, the entire boss has 3000 health. I dealt 100 damage so far. And he's going to heal it up right here. So the nice thing is, each form has separate MP pool. They do have a shared HP pool though. So this is the form, the Tornado form, that uses fire too on itself. I think 5 times? Let's see. I'm gonna try and slow it. I don't think it works. Yeah, it doesn't work. There's very few bosses or enemies immune against slow, but this is one of them. Fire number 2. Fire number 3. Fire number 4. And fire number 5. I think it doesn't have any MP left. I'm going to let it cast once more just to check. Yeah, can only cast that 5 times. As a counterattack, it uses Magnet, which pulls you from the back row into the front row, so I would have been in the front row anyways. Immediately attack this guy. 258 damage is actually less than anticipated. So the hand form can only do that counterattack 3 times. So that means the hand form has 1 more, and then it's gonna be toast. Funnily enough, what I can do is I can actually attack this guy right after he moves. And then I get another attack in right after, before he can do anything again. Or not. Fingertips is one of the attacks the hand form can do, which stuns you, but Haste apparently reduces the stun duration by quite a bit. Okay, this is the last fire to counterattack. The last time this was actually scary. And now we are pretty much fine to deal with the rest of this encounter. You can see the regeneration ticks are actually quite nice to keep us reasonably high in health. On top of that, we really don't have much trouble just keeping up with whatever he does because we go about twice his speed. It's kind of crazy how much haste makes a difference. For also another reference, the tornado form has a 30% chance to evade your attacks. I believe the human form has a 20% chance, but the dagger weapon halves enemy evasion. So on top of daggers already being pretty strong and solid on their own right, they even do more on halving their evasion. Which, by the way, I defeated Omega with a solo chemist, and I used a chicken knife to attack it. Even though Omega has a 90% evasion, it was just cut in half thanks to the chicken knife. So it was actually pretty good. Would Ice Rod do more damage against this guy due to the resistances? Oh, the weakness? Maybe. I can try. I figured the Mithril Knife would be too strong to not use, but we can try. It doesn't work against the hand form as mentioned, because it is immune against all elements. So, let's see real quick. Might be a good idea actually. Ice Rod I could also use from the back row, but it might be. The thing is, it's such a high variance. I'm not sure. Tornado form does have pretty high evasion, but then at the same time, tornado form doesn't do anything until I hit it. 240. Pretty good. I feel like the reliability of the... Oh, 320, never mind, this is actually quite solid. I was about to say, I felt like the reliability of the Mithril Knife would outclass the Haste Rod. Maybe not, on average. You helped. Looks like I should definitely take those elemental rods as weapons more serious in the future. By the way, what I'm doing right now is I'm being lazy, and instead of switching to the healing stuff to heal, I'm just waiting for the regeneration ticks. I love regeneration, it's pretty much my favorite status effect in the entire game. In actually pretty much every Final Fantasy that is, or in game in general. I just really like having my cactus with ridiculous regeneration. Of course, this can happen too with the Ice Rod, that's just normal. Ouch, that's a lot of damage there. In theory, we want to defeat Liquid Flame in the Tornado form because it will give us... Oh, not in the Fire Rod, no. It gives us a... No, not the Flame Scroll, that's the Fire Bow, there we go, thank you very much. Yes, it gives us a Fire Bow, and that is just worth more money to sell. There we go. Liquid Flame down. Liquid Flame is not a particularly difficult boss as long as you can heal yourself. Which is a problem for 2 classes. One of which we are already done, one of which we probably will never play. . Yeah, Time Mage is seeming like it could be an OP run now that you have spells. Yes, actually. Time Mage is pretty much overpowered. Because Haste and Slow are such insane status effects, on top of most bosses even being susceptible to slow in the first place. And then some bosses are not even immune against Demi, which halves their HP. To be fair, that's the minority, but there's at least one very notable example that we will take advantage of. Quick plus Elixir seems good as well. Oh, that's true. I keep forgetting about Quick. I never really used the Time Mage. Quick is a thing as well. Oh, by the way, we will defeat Omega and Shinryu in a super cheesy way as a Time Mage. No, that will kill us. Quick Meteor is not the way. It's even cheesier than Quick Meteor. No, even cheesier than that. So we will cast Quick, and then we use a Venom Rod, and then we wait. Because Venom Rod inflicts HP leak status, and as long as you don't take your second Quick turn, HP leak will just continue to count down until you win. Just in case anybody was already curious. Melee rods are way too OP. The thing is, I'm pretty sure we could use rods from the back row for full damage too. Yeah, the thing is, it just takes a really long time in order to defeat them that way. It works, but it's not what I'm gonna be using against the final boss. It's a super cheesy solution, but it's a solution that works against everything. I wonder whether it even works in the Game Boy Advance version. Because you could just solo the entire Sealed Temple dungeon with a solo Time Mage if that was the case. Because there is no boss or enemy that has immunity against HP leak status. Oh, yeah, sorry Arachnes, I cannot miss that. Neocetic Lars, if you know what you're doing against Liquid Flame, it's really not a bad boss at all. And yes, we decide by vote. If you would like to vote which character we play next, !SSCC in order to get the straw poll. Also more information in a spreadsheet and document. Death counts, times, how long it took us to defeat certain challenges, stuff like that. Alrighty, now we have Karnak Escape. So, the biggest problem about the Karnak Escape is that if I want to get many extra things, while we have no trouble killing stuff, we are under a strict time limit here. So I'm not gonna be grabbing too many extra elixirs because we are not a particularly fast killer, but I will want to get some nonetheless. 2000 gil. We're starting in the back row, that's good. So, almost all of those chests are guarded by enemies, either mages or Gygas. Gygas have like 750 HP or so, and are pretty rough or brutal with how strong they are. The nice thing is that they are not heavy, so we can actually use Demi in order to weaken them significantly. Which reduces half their HP, and we do that a second time. They do unfortunately counter that with Aero, as it looks like. I was not aware of that. I'm gonna cast Regen on myself. They do counter any damage 2 and 3 times with Aero. They can use Aero 2 as the regular move, so we need to actually stay at a healthy HP total. Hey, what I could do is actually Void. So that's weird. Void will make it so they can no longer cast any spells. Oh, right, I forgot about that. Blue magic is not spells. It's abilities. Oh my goodness. It's true. Blue magic cannot be countered through that. I forget about that all the time. Either way, the sorcerer can no longer toad us and stuff. Oh, I'm dead. Alright, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, those Gyga's enemies are not without issue. To be fair, I could have healed instead. I did not need to move into the front row to take more physical damage. But yeah. Bring back Evil Mist. Evil Mist was ridiculous, but we didn't have it at this point yet. No frame drops, go away. No frame drops. I'm gonna pause if it doesn't stop soon. I'm not sure what's up with that today. Earlier, oops, the stream for the RPG Valkyries already had quite a few frame drops too. Not so great. I'm just walking the same way as I did before, so you're not missing anything new for that matter. Either way, this chest that I'm picking up over here, which is very far out of the way, has the Elf Cape in it. Elf Cape is an accessory that has +1 magic power, which is nice, +1 agility, which is also nice, but the big deal about it is it has a 1 in 3 chance to block any physical attack that comes your way, so it is kind of crazy good like that. Oh, and Charm is really not pleasant. Thank you for putting me out of the Charm. I appreciate that. I'm actually going to equip a healing rod, just in case he charms me again. So just gonna use Demi on this guy. Demi, by the way, has a decent chance to hit, but at the same time it also has a decent chance to miss, for that matter. I deal like 90 damage from the back row, actually less than that. I need to use TMA 2 more times. How much does Demi cost? 9 MP. Bit more pricey than I would like it to be, plus I don't have any ethers. Ouch. I need to heal. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't quite go. But at the same time, I save 9 MP not using Demi again. That's nicer. Also nice is that those sorcerers don't have, or are in the back row, so they only deal half the damage. Worth noting, those Karnak enemies, if they are alone, or more specifically, if there is no other type of enemy around, aside from those Karnak enemies, they will run away. But it's easier to take out those guys rather than the sorcerers, so I'm just gonna do that real quick. And then I get toaded. If I attack myself with the healing staff, that still works for that. Healing staff, by the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned that, but it costs Cure 2 whenever you use it. It's the exact same as a White Mage Cure 2. The other classes that can equip the rod usually do have other means of healing, so it's not all that relevant for them, but it's actually kind of a big deal for a Time Mage here. Alrighty, finally. And we get our Elf Cape, so this was a pretty lengthy encounter. But trust me, that Elf Cape is worth it. There is another weapon that a weapon that I want to pick up. That is essentially just on the opposite spire of this castle. That weapon is the Guardian Dagger. The Guardian Dagger has a 1 in 4 chance to block physical attacks. So it's kinda crazy good for a weapon to do that. On top of that, it's actually pretty much straight up the best weapon you can have for a long time. This is annoying. Those guys are really difficult to run away from, even though possible. And whenever this guy says, attack them, those little guys attack. And then they attack on their own volition on top of that. So it's actually kind of a lot of damage. I'm tempted to just break a rod in order to get through here. Basically a random encounter. I'm just gonna break a rod. Goodbye. I consider the other enemies in here to be basically mini-bosses, which is why I don't want to break rods on them, preferably. There's also a chance, instead of the chest containing a Gygas plus 2 enemies, there's only a Gygas in these chests. It's kind of rare, but it can happen. Oh, hi. It happened. You mean like that? I guess so. So I actually have only 2 more demis left, then I need to restock my MP somehow. I don't think I have any ethers. I could just use an elixir. By the way, they do not always counterattack with their things. Just most of the time, I guess. Arrow, I mean. I would prefer not to use an elixir, but I don't know if they have any ethers. Because that's all most of them. Actually, I should have at least one. Right. Right. Maybe not. Yeah, there's no ether here. Haha. Oops. What time is it? Oh, wait. Before I do this, I want to equip the Guardian Dagger because it's so crazy good. So, I'm tempted to go and grab one elixir, just to make up for the one that I just invested. And I'll do so. I'm gonna get this chest specifically, because it does not usually have a Gygas in them. I'm gonna use Void, just so he can no longer use spells. I cannot use spells either, but I don't think that really matters. Move into the front row so I deal full damage. We, by the way, have a slightly higher than 50% chance to avoid physical damage with both the Elf Cape and the Guardian Dagger. They are multiplicatively stacking, so that's worth knowing, I guess. Haha, that doesn't work. Charm would have actually been really bad, considering how much damage we deal with the Guard Dagger there. Right. 1 elixir acquired. I think we even leveled up along the way here. So. Now we need to get out. There is going to be 1 guaranteed encounter that we need to deal with. Oh no. Random encounter. I'm just gonna burn a fire rod here. Those random encounters, it's actually not rare to never get a random encounter here. It's in fact rather common. I'm gonna start in the front row, so I will be able to start whacking the enemies right away, even though it might cost me more HP. So haste first. So unfortunately, the sergeant gets a command right away. I believe in this encounter the Karnaks do not actually attack on their own volition, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is the encounter where if you push the sergeant below a certain threshold of HP, he will start if you remove all the wolves, the commander will go transform into something else, which is really not pleasant. And I would like to avoid that, so I'm just going to kill the sergeant now instead of the last wolf. The last wolf will then subsequently run away. I don't know whether Demi works. It does. Nice. That makes that simpler. He has 1000 HP. When he transforms, he only has 900 HP, but any damage he took is actually carried over from this form to the next one. His other form is Iron Claw, excuse me. Iron Claw uses an ability called Death Claw. Death Claw is a paralyze plus putting you into critical HP, so basically both of Carlebus moves combined in one. That's really bad to get hit by. To be fair, its chance to hit is not the greatest, so we would have a chance to survive it. But it's still not the greatest. Alrighty, but we should have it here. Actually curious, he has less than 100 HP left. Would he instantly die because he transformed now? Or can he not transform? We have enough time to test this. He's not just a sergeant. Show your true colors. Me? I'm the great bounty hunter, Iron Claw. Change form. I've never heard of this guy before. And you know what? I never will. And that's the escape sequence from Karnak. Probably the least interesting piece of music in the entire game, I dare to say. Alrighty. We have arrived at the Fire Crystal, and the Fire Crystal jobs for that matter. Oh, worth noting that we did unlock the Time Mage by now at the Water Crystal of the Galura. And now it's just the library away to go on. But I think we will enter the library next time. So we have made quite a bit of headway. Only took, what, an hour to defeat Carlebus after we leveled up. So 2 hours 40. Yeah, I would say that was pretty solid progress for the remainder. And you can already see the ridiculous power of a Time Mage. Not in terms of straight up attack power and damage, but the Haste and Slow is just so ridiculous that you go like 5-6 times for one move of the enemy if they are not even particularly fast in the first place. If you slow them, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, either way, that is it from me for today. So thank you guys very much for watching, for listening, for lurking, for all the support one way or another. I really appreciate that. And well, hopefully until next time, take care and thank you very much.